The Dell XPS 15 9500 from 2020. This is legitimately one of my favorite pieces of technology ever made. And I mean, I say that because I like it so much that I went from someone that would only ever do my video editing work, would only ever do like my professional work on a Mac, to now I am seriously considering switching to Windows, and all of that happened in about the span of the last 2 weeks after using this darn thing. So why do I like it so much, and why do I think you should buy one? Let's find out. Oh, their computers, they're so fragile. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. So I absolutely, unequivocally, am blown away by how much I like this laptop. You've seen it over the last month as I've made several videos just stating how awesome this is, even when compared against the pretty stiff competition from the newest Mac devices. And again, I am normally an Apple guy. Today, this is not a day to be unbiased. Today we will not balance positives from negatives. I'm gonna share the things that I think that sell this as a portable productivity monster machine, and I think it's just a fantastic investment. Before we hop into that, I do wanna make my first caveat on a You Should Buy series. These are just fun videos that I enjoy making because I find there's like so much negativity out in the tech space, and I like sharing the things that I absolutely really love about the tech I use. I don't actually want you to buy every single computer or camera that I talk about here. Also, something else to note about the XPS 15. I have seen people that have had issues with the trackpad on the XPS 15, and it's enough that I wanted to preface this video that while I haven't had a single issue with mine, like I haven't had a problem with this trackpad moving or double clicking or anything like that. If you are going to buy this laptop, buy it from Dell or another retailer with a reputable return policy. Just in case you do get a problem, you can return it, get another one. Okay, we just swiped the disclaimers off the table. Let's get to the awesomeness that is the XPS 15. First off, and I think the main reason to buy this computer when there are other options out there, like the XPS 17 or even the MacBook Pro 16, is the size. You will not find another laptop this powerful that's this small. And yes, we'll talk more about the individual pieces that make that possible as we go along today, but overall, this is a shockingly small computer. You've heard me say this before, but I do have another Dell 15-inch laptop in my house right now. I use that one for gaming, and it dwarfs the XPS 15. I think it's crazy that these are both two laptops sold as 15-inch options from the same manufacturer. Now, I do get that gaming laptops are bigger because they need to have better cooling for all of those internal components. It's a strikingly big difference between the G3 and G5 15-inch line and the XPS 15. And what's cool about that is this might be the smallest productivity laptop with this much power and this much screen real estate that you're probably gonna find in this generation of computers. More on that fantastic screen in just a minute. Not to belabor the point, but every single time I pick this thing up or start using it to get work done, I just get taken back by the size. When your area is safe and you can safely go to an electronics store to check this out, you gotta go look at one of these in person if you haven't seen it yet. You'll be taken back by just how small of a computer this is. And on the size comment, it's time to mention what really makes this possible, and it's probably reason 1.5 to buy the XPS 15, that's the display. The display on this thing is absolutely insane. I personally have the 1080p panel, and I think it is the perfect 16:10 aspect ratio with almost no bezels along this edge. There is a 4K option out there, but I prefer the 1080p as it's matte, I don't like glossy displays, and it uses less power than that beefier 4K touchscreen panel. This is not a touchscreen, unfortunately. The 16:10 really works for me because if you saw last year's version of the XPS 15, it had you lost all of this real estate right here. And this just gives you a little more space at the bottom. And if you like to watch movies in a traditional widescreen mode, you won't get crazy cropping bars here, as 16:9 and more 17:9 are pretty standard for YouTube, TV, and even movies. 2:1 is a stylized choice that you'll run into. Also, I'm telling you, much like the overall size itself, if you haven't seen this display in person, it will take your breath away. As I sit down to stop and write this script, it came over me that you really have to stop and pull your eyes away from what you are doing, and you have to look for the bezel. The screen just kind of floats in the air in front of you. You don't even realize that there's an edge to the screen. You might think that I'm harping on about this for no reason, but everything about this computer is really built around the screen. I'm not an engineer, but I think it's the way that they were really able to slim these bezels down is what lets lets the rest of the computer be so small. This is more like a 14-inch computer that has a 15-inch monitor on it. The next reason you should buy the XPS 15 is the trackpad. Yes, we already mentioned there could be some potential QC issues out there, but having had none of those personally, I can easily say that this is the best Windows trackpad I've ever seen. I mean, this is truly up there with the class-leading MacBook offerings. It's gigantic, has very precise control, and the gestures work great, making it so you almost don't need a dedicated mouse if you are going to use this as a travel or on-the-go computer. Right above that trackpad though is another of my favorite Windows implementations, the keyboard. I really think this is a fantastic keyboard. When I first started typing on it, coming from the MacBook Pro during the unboxing, I did think the keys were a little mushy, but once you start going on, it's a terrific experience. I mean, the keys, can you hear them? They aren't as snappy as the new Magic keyboards on the MacBook, but it's almost like the mushiness is a good thing. That's gonna sound weird, but typing on this feels less impactful. And that's gonna sound bad, but I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean it's less impactful on your hands, leading to less hand fatigue when I'm typing longer projects. In much the same way that I wear running shoes with about 2 inches of foam to make it less impactful and less strenuous on my legs when, I'm out running. I really like the key layout. I also like that there is no touch bar interface. It's all physical. And even, okay, the one thing that's not physical, there is a fingerprint scanner on the side and it feels and works great too. If you can make a keyboard good, I will be totally happy with your computer. Also, in regards to the build of the laptop body in general, the carbon fiber feels amazing. This might, much like the other things I really like about this might be the best feeling laptop I've ever seen in my life. I've been using this an awful lot over the last month since I unboxed it, and while I was initially concerned that this might pick up like fingerprint smudges or palm smudges more easily than say the aluminum on my MacBook Pro, this continues to hold up really well. And it's such a nice addition. It just looks so good. Like, I'm not much of like a gamer aesthetics kind of person, but this looks fantastic. Right next to those keys is literally right next to the keys are a great set of speakers. And okay, I promise I won't turn this into like a MacBook Pro, but on Windows video, but the speakers are very good, and they're much like the speakers found on the MacBook Pros. Now, I'm not big into audio, so I can't talk much about the bass or the mids or treble. Is that something that you talk about? But this is good enough that I don't feel the need to always have to wear headphones in either using it to watch YouTube videos, watch other kind of content, or when I edit my videos on it. Okay, so now we move away from the like a MacBook but not section of the video into things that this just stands on its own. And something that I do, this is totally not like a MacBook, right? Before we get too far from the physical construction of the computer, this baby has an SD card slot. Whew. SD card slots are the most joyous of ports a computer could have. My workflow won't break if I forget my mouse or if I don't have the dongle to plug into a monitor. But if I can't ingest my footage, that's an absolute showstopper, and has been an absolute showstopper of mine. So much like flippy screens are big in the YouTube space for cameras, SD card slots are basically the flippy screens, and that YouTubers, we just need them. And if you're gonna be creating a lot of photo and video content, you'll need them too. I love it. I just love that this computer has an SD card slot. I would talk about this all day long if somebody would watch a video about it. Would you watch a video about how awesome SD card slots are? Leave a comment below, let me know. One big thing about being a Mac user, and this is not like a Mac, but not. One big thing about being a Mac user is you are stuck with what you buy. You buy a MacBook Pro 16 or 13, that's it. You are stuck with that configuration until the end of time for that computer because everything is soldered down. And hopefully, as you're using that computer, you don't find that you need just a little bit more RAM. I'm not saying that's happened to me, but here in the 9500 though, you can upgrade both the internal solid state drive and the RAM very, very easily. You get two M.2 NVMe slots inside of this for SSDs, and you also get 2 slots for the RAM. And that might be a big enough feature on its own to sell this computer. You can buy much faster RAM and much, I capitalized much for the second one, faster SSDs and kit your computer out for both way less and just better in general. The drives and the RAM that you can get stock from Dell, they're fine, there's nothing wrong with them, but you can do so much better and faster on your own. I'm a PC novice, and even I know that. Like, seriously, I know, I always say at the beginning of my videos, if I can figure it out, you can figure it out, and that's because I'm a pretty average guy. And this only took me a couple of minutes going from nothing to popping in a Samsung 970 EVO Plus and 64 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM into this laptop, just making it like the Chrome destroying. I can have all the Chrome tabs that I want open now. Sure, I called a thermal pad a heatsink, and you guys have let me know in the comments, so I know that now, and we all learn this together. Ding! And now that we're talking about what's under the hood, I do want to talk about the power on hand here. That is another main reason to buy one of these computers. This is a powerful laptop. You can kit it out with an Intel i7-10875H, and that's a pretty amazing little CPU. Sure, it's not going to compete in the same levels with an i9 or even one of the new Ryzen mobile processors, but for productivity, this is a pretty darn good CPU, and you can pair it with an NVIDIA GTX 1650 Ti. So this might not be built as a gaming laptop, it's not sold as a gaming laptop, but you could easily use it for some of the older titles. Heck, I have the base model i5 and I use it to play all my old-timey RPGs like Vampire Masquerade Redemption. Oh, it was so cool when I was younger. That game came out and blew it. And so despite this not having the same cooling capabilities as the 17-inch, which I'm very excited to check out that whole vapor chamber thing, this is pretty impressive for me because I have seen on other smaller laptops thermal throttling happen pretty routinely. And I was actually kind of concerned about that when I saw just how small they had made this device. And the last reason to buy the Dell XPS 15-9500 isn't anything to do with its performance, or its capabilities, or its price. It's that this is a nice looking laptop. This just looks good. And while you might not want to consider the aesthetics of your personal technology when making a purchasing decision, I absolutely do. I like having gear that looks like the money that I spent on it. Like, I don't like spending money on stuff that looks like garbage. And the XPS 15 is absolutely one of my favorite looking laptops ever. It's like a theme of the whole video, right? That this thing has blown me away so much that I've started talking about Windows computers. I love how the aluminum finish of the outer shell looks, and I think it plays really well with that carbon fiber we talked about earlier. I mean, I think the silver and the gray, I love gray. Matte gray is my favorite color because I'm a boring old person. I love it, and I think this is the perfect combination of form and function. And because of all of those things we talked about, you should absolutely buy the Dell XPS 15-9500 from 2020. Dang. What a good computer. So if you are like me and you like the base model of things and you're trying to save some money and actually see if your power needs can be met by the base model XPS 15, here's the video where I use this cheapest XPS 15-9500 as a 4K video editing platform for Premiere Pro. Click right here to watch that video. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.